just have to see some good chatters. Saying how many games he's going to win. 31-0. I'm not sure that's. I mean, that would be. Would that be probably the best tournament performance of all time?
I mean, how could you beat it? I mean, I understand that the average rating might not, put it up there, but when you consider 31-0, that would be that would be basically no doubter best one of all time for me. But Jackson
So
is a really good player going first. You got to win it first.
yeah, so play about to begin here. Jackson is just getting confirmation. We are all set. Players could definitely start. We're ready to rock. So not sure. They're just getting confirmation that they're good to go. Oh, Jackson's got his tiles there. All right, we are off. Ooh, that Q finds its way onto Jackson's rack right off the bat. Is he going to get some help? Well, I guess a little bit. He gets that I. So I suppose, Jason, we are likely to very quickly see our most frequent opening play of Chi, and he plays it in the Nigelian vertical style as well. And another blank on Nigel's rack. Oh my God. He is definitely drawing extremely well, in addition to how well he's playing, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be 18-0. Like you've said, even Nigel loses about a quarter of his game. So by that metric, he should have lost about 4 by now. Like I said, a couple close scrapes that maybe he loses those against higher rated opponents. But yeah, somebody did joke that that blank that Ori got, is that the first one that Nigel's opponents have had? It probably just feels like it.
Today, yes, it is in fact true, not even hyperbole, that is the first blank that an opponent of Nigel's has drawn today. So yeah, always a good sign when that happens. But look, right, like Nigel's tournament record kind of speaks for itself. He doesn't always go 18-0 and all of this sort of thing, but he's usually among the top when he's drawing normal tiles, a normal distribution. So it makes sense that if he draws that one time out of 100 or 1,000, when he draws absolutely godlike tiles, he's going to do some pretty insane things. And that is exactly what's happening here. So he's thinking about what to play. He's got bingos through the I, no sevens. So it's just a question of which bingo through the I he wants to play. Is there any way that he's thinking about playing Sly here? This Nigel foreshadows his intentions often. Is there any way he's going to just play Sly? It looks like he will. Wow. That's unreal, Jason. I'm stunned.
I mean, I guess it helps that your highest scoring bingo was 22 there, or 62 rather. But yeah, this has been so like you're so lucky you've gotten to see this from the start. Like I get to be part of it for this game, at least last game in this game.
That play, the engine, it sims very well. It's simming best or very close to it. It is swapping up and down with the bingos that he could have played there. It is so close. As I'm looking at the simulation, it's switching places with the first place play and second place play. I can't believe that would be the case. Let's try to come up with some rationale for it. I think the rationale is just that
look at this board. Yeah, this board right now is awful. Now somehow Nigel has a playable bingo iodated under the LY, but if he didn't, like if you're like, what rack can Jackson have that he's really going to hurt that at all?
Yeah, so it's just, I think this is a reaction to the fact that Jackson just played 2 tiles. If it was any other 2-tile play, this would make even more sense. But the range of tiles that your opponent can have and play Chi is actually kind of wide. It doesn't necessarily suggest that much strength, right? Like you could play Chi from a variety of racks. So if Nigel is putting Jackson on 5 very good tiles. He is absolutely tanking his bingo percentage on the next turn by playing sly instead of his bingos and basically daring Jackson to try to open. And Jackson, to his credit, not taking the bait at all. He just plays Vi there, which makes total sense. Not wanting to open much. And Nigel immediately plays Diel there, which has this kind of backfired on him potentially.
In a way, yes. I think that Jackson's play there was brilliant. Like, all right, like technically I have the lead. If you want to turn the board into muck, I'll happily do that. Right behind you. Leaving a very good 5-tile leave in false there. But yeah, with Nigel, able to score well as open up another spot for himself. So I wouldn't say that it has backfired. Obviously, Vi isn't what you want to see go down in that spot when you have Iadated already. But I think Nigel will be content to if Jackson wants to continue like this, which apparently he does, because now he's going to block that spot. I think he's content. What a wonderful game of cat and mouse we're seeing to open this one. It's great.
This is so tactical for sure. And the crazy thing here, nice job by Jackson to burn his S. The S is really not as valuable as it might normally be on a board that is so constricted. Nigel had just wanted to play DYE, which would have been a very nice way to create hooks of die as well as the ivied hook holding an I. So Nigel definitely had that play in mind. And now he can't play it because Jackson tacked on his S. Not only does that obstruct what Nigel wanted to do, it scores a boatload more points by getting the chi points as well. So nice job by Jackson, who is really shining on this very tight board. But my mind is still blown by Nigel somehow sussing out that Sly was on par with the many valid bingos. Now we see him play DAP. 28 points. I don't think this does that much to open the board, but it scores 28 on a closed board and basically dares Jackson to play something here, which might open a lane for Nigel to bingo subsequently. So this is insanely tactical, Jason. It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. At what point, if you're Nigel or anybody, are you just like, I just should have plunked the bingo down on the opening turn? What was I doing?
Yeah. I don't think he really thinks that way that often, but yeah, in this situation, it's tough for Jackson. He has died set up on his rack. He's probably thinking, I can play it here. What is the way? Oh, now he's thinking about playing aided, which would put an A in the triple lane, which would definitely give Nigel some good stuff. He has, at the very least, he has something like anti-leak through that A to the triple if that's what Jackson does. I really don't think he's going to open so aggressively. I do expect him to potentially just play died here, but that's kind of okay. A lot of the time, Nigel is happy with a play like that. Again, it yields a bingo in response. So I don't actually know if he's going to have such a play after this, Jason. That could continue the caginess. Oh, there would also be a D out in space. So that's going to help Nigel a little bit to potentially get something down.
Yeah, and I guess that's part of the problem with playing the way that Jackson does is you can't really keep it up for the whole game. Although he has delayed the bingo coming down for a while, so has that going for him. DAP also creates an S hook, which isn't much, but when there's only 2 S's left, with the other 2 having hit the board, that's not nothing. So.
Yeah, without question. So Nigel now has a weird choice here. He can play Neat Nick off of this newly created spot that Jackson made, but he's also thinking about making his blank a C and playing Anticked here, which would be kind of amazing. It feels a little bit like Anticked is much more dangerous in terms of making really potentially heavy overlaps there. But maybe Nigel is going to do that, reasoning that after Jackson's last few plays, Maybe he reads him as being slightly less likely to have some of the dangerous tiles. I think Nigel is going to go with the more customary neat nick or beat nick. I guess neat nick is one more point. Getting the real N here instead of a blank B. Seems like he's on the verge of doing that, Jason. I think that is standard here.
I think so too. And it's coming down. But after opponent plays, DIED, it's tempting to kind of hang that eye, especially with the Q gone. But I think this is right.
Yeah, so neat Nick, Nigel striking first. Nicely spotted by him, of course, as we have come to expect. And Jackson drawing the WU combination. Not ideal, but this game is still way too close for him to lose heart. I guess we're going to find out if Nigel is going to pull another one of those blanks and continue to run that counter up even higher. But if not, well, we see a couple weird letters from him. Oh, it's getting worse. All right. Well, there's a Collins bingo in there, everybody, but that is not going to play in this game. So I don't even know where it would play if you were allowed to play the word rogue here. But yeah, Jackson on turn. He's going to want to get rid of either the U or W, if not both, Jason.
Yeah, also shout out to the chat. We do have more than 1,000 people watching this game right now. So that is so awesome to see.
Yeah, very gratifying. We had that in a morning session, and I would say for me personally, not to derail too much from the game action, but that's been a goal of mine for about 5 years that we've achieved today. So I really, really appreciate all 1,000 of you plus in the chat watching along with us today. It is extremely meaningful for me. Again, 5+ years in the making. Thank you very much, everybody. It means so much to have you aboard watching Scrabble with us today.
So yeah, getting back to the game, my first thought was just wood off of the D and died, but I think that gets hit too often. I think it's just gnaw through the N in neat nick. Wood isn't bad per se, but like I said, I probably would have just slapped that down without thinking about it too much. But especially on this board, I think that that gnaw is way better.
Yeah, agreed. That does seem standard. Jackson is just looking carefully for any idea that might be a little bit better. Oh, look at this. He's playing lunge. Could that feels weird to me. This feels like either it's a miss or it's Jackson wanting to put a good tile in this square long term, feeling like he might need it to execute a comeback better. If you put the W there, that is not a good bingo tile. In my opinion, the game is way too close to make a move like that, and maybe just a little bit of, blindness to the G being able to go there, not a usual word form to start with GN. Looks like a mistake to me, but I would defer, I should say, to Jackson that maybe he's thinking long term.
Yeah, and I liked Vi, I liked Foz, but when you make plays like that, then you get in this position when Nigel gets the first bingo down. Now you're doing something like sacrificing equity to play lunge just to throw an E out in space. So I tend to agree with you on just about everything you said, and that it feels like a mistake, but I too would defer to Jackson. Meanwhile, Nigel has played Urger, just blowing up the rack and taking the points, and now Jackson going to come back with above, which will open the board even further.
Yeah, this is a nice play. Very volatile play. This is another weird one. We actually saw it, Jason. I think this morning we saw Jason Lee have the word whatnots available, which I don't think mirrors English usage of the word whatnot in any way. I've never heard anybody talk about multiple whatnots, but that is a valid word. And in the same vein, you can have multiple aboves. Yes, it's true. It's a little crazy. And look at that. The blank on an opponent's rack. That's what we like to see, folks. So a big draw for Jackson. Yes, it comes with some clunk along with it. I guess not really. He drew Z blank. He had the W on his rack already. So the draw was good. He's going to have to work through some of that. But just WZ up here waiting for a lot of points for Jackson. He might be striking next with a bingo, despite the fact, Jason, that Nigel has the valid Manioka on his rack, but it is homeless on this board.
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting turn of events here. Non-Nigel people would probably kick themselves for not throwing that R open, where they could play macaroni or harmonica or marrowcane, or be frustrated that that the simple 7 doesn't go down. So, looks like Quackle kind of wants Nigel to kind of just fish off the A there, but looks like Sim is coming up with some, in my opinion, more reasonable options of playing Oka or Oma off of the Ka and Neatnik.
Yeah, the problem with just fishing an A is that while you do hit a fair number of bingos out of the bag, if you fish one here, you don't have any hooks to this word. So your only hook on your rack would be the M, and a lot of the things you draw are not going to fit the M in the correct spot for you to actually play the 7-letter words. So rather than fish just that one tile, when you are thinking about making that fish, which in Scrabble parlance is playing a very low number of tiles in an effort to draw a bingo as fast as possible, it's really important to actually look at the board and try to figure out, are the words that I draw actually going to play? And Nigel has correctly determined that the answer is no, they're not. I'm not going to fish just 1A. I'm going to try to grab a few more points with Oka. Makes a lot of sense. And I really expect to see Jackson put these 2 high point letters in the upper corner very quickly, Jason. No need to waste time here.
Agreed, and he's got him in his hand, and he's going to do it.
45 points up there. That has to be among the worst case scenarios for that spot. I have to imagine a U sitting out in space like that. Couldn't be many more points on offer up there. So nice job to Jackson and a critical draw for him. Ooh, that looks pretty good. So I feel like he should be able to bingo here. The key, though, is does he have a bingo to the C? I do see one in Orgastic. That could be a huge, huge blow in this game if that spot remains open.
Yeah, that was the one I saw.
Oh, he has Orgiast. He has Orgiast 2 and above. So there was no stopping Jackson there. So either he was getting his big aboves bingo, which Nigel just blocked with his play of Fa, or now he's going to get a huge play into the Sea of Oka. So this is maybe the most promising situation that we've seen yet for any Nigel opponent. Poised to score a boatload of points. Jackson just has to hold his nerve and find his 90-point play. And there it goes. His only playable bingo, wasting very little time, Jason. Nicely done.
Yeah, especially given what Nigel has. Like I feel like I don't want to, get too far out on the limb, but I think this could be it. I really do, especially given the board makeup. He's going to be ahead by 63. I mean,
yeah, but
Nigel
look at
will
Nigel.
Score.
He's got mutinied into the D.
Oh, mutinied into the D. I'm sorry. Yep.
So he's going to come back and equalize the game. So a lot hinges on this draw from Jackson. Make no mistake, Jackson is still in great position because after the play of mutinied, if Jackson draws well, me get my chicken scratch off the screen, he could easily come back with a very nice overlapping play, but he does not have a vowel that goes on top of the T. Jackson only drawing 2 O's, which is going to make it difficult for him to overlap. I guess, that's not true. He can go across this way, but actually he doesn't have that many. I think the best he could do is like BOT, which isn't that great. So Nigel is going to escape a little bit here, Jason, without getting whacked on the top row.
Yeah, BOT leaving corn looks pretty good to me. I don't think that you have a better option.
You could throw the other O in along with it and play boot, as I'm seeing. Boot,
Okay.
boon, things of that nature, getting 5 more points. So that seems to be the worst that Jackson can do. It could have been so much worse than that in other scenarios here. So this is going to be very, very exciting. I do like the fact that Jackson has 15 minutes on his clock. He's managed his time very well. He's not going to necessarily make a mistake right now because of time pressure. And that's going to stand him in very good stead as he has tempo here, sort of our term in Scrabble for when the game is tied, which player is leaping out ahead on their turn. That's the player with tempo. That is Jackson right now.
Yeah, vowel heavy pool too, so I can see why Sim is liking boot or boon or even boor instead of bot.
Yeah, so he is sure to suss that out. In fact, there is another issue where you could play boot and boon, but there are 3 ends unseen. So prioritizing playing boon over boot. These are the tiny little nuances that players at this level are attuned to, trying to minimize the odds that you duplicate your tile. Let's see. If Jackson draws an N, he's going to be very happy that he made this choice. It would harmonize very well with the rest of his tiles. Let's see what he draws. Another R. Well, he didn't really have a choice. Boer, I guess, was you wouldn't necessarily play your R there with your option to play the N or the T. So a little bit of hindsight there. But Nigel now on turn. He is going to pull. Wait a second. Wait a second. That's not good. Is it? Oh, it is. Is that a new word? Why don't I recognize this? Okay, I should know not to doubt Nigel.
That's okay.
Is
No,
that a new word?
the plural of hetman is hetmans, but I don't remember hetman. But then again, you know your sixes a lot better than
I
I
would have
do. So
probably challenged that out of just like
even Nigel, even against Nigel.
probably. Yeah. I don't know. I usually just trust my gut on stuff. So I probably would have challenged that. It must
Just
be new in some of the recent updates because I feel like I've never seen that word in my life, which is a good wake up call to me. So, all right, never mind. Nice play by Nigel. It is valid. Sorry to give everybody a scare and give you a scare, Jason. That is a huge scoring play for Nigel, but not a great draw for him. And Jackson going now with a 14-point deficit. Hard to say which of the 2 players is a favorite in this game. It's very close. It's probably very close to 50-50. And if either player can get a bingo down, that could be game over. The S's looming so large with this spot available. I wonder, is either player going to get that bingo down that could be decisive?
Yeah, what a fascinating game right from the start with Nigel somehow making a leave inference with QI, which I have never done. I feel like we didn't give the slide play enough attention that it deserved, but other plays happen after that. But yeah, Hetman has 2 plurals apparently, Hetmans and Hetmen. So
I knew
so there
that's
we
why
go.
I knew. Yeah, I knew hetmans. That's why I know it because it's such a weird looking word. But in any case, learn something new every day.
I
So,
thought
all
we might
right,
see actor, yeah. Kill the S
yeah,
spot since you don't have it. Makes
right.
sense.
Jackson seemed to be seriously considering playing torch here, which that would have been reasonable as well, but it would not have done anything about this S hook, which Jackson does not have one. So maybe he's wanting to address it here. Of course, there's still plenty of opportunities and a weird draw here for Jackson. No S's, but an X. X could be useful for scoring, but I continue to be a little wary. Let me get the scores updated. Sorry, this game is so close that it's important that you are all seeing the right score. Jackson up to 331 right now. Narrow lead. So here we go. Nigel playing O at the top of the board. That's about as good as he can do in terms of points. This does give back some counterplay, though, Jason, if Jackson wants to play something underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the X, not a great board for it. Obviously, with Nigel without it, he's never going to do anything to open up a spot for it. But even just AX, EX, OX along the BO of above is going to be 40, which on this board is a lot. Nigel has found one of the two S's.
Mm.
So yeah, this is I feel like this is going to, you know, the person in the lead is going to be the person who last made a play. It's been that way for the last 4 turns, I think, and I think this will continue for a while. I think we're going to see a very close end game, and this has been a great game throughout, and I think it's going to be a great game right down to the finish.
Yeah, the crazy things that are lurking here from Jackson's perspective: two S's, also a J, a Y. There are some good scoring tiles. You've got this spot now to worry about. Of course, there's always the threat of bingos at any time, but it looks like Jackson doesn't want to allow Nigel to be able to underlap this spot. Seems like he's very seriously considering playing tell for 26 up there. He also seems clearly to be considering something like extol down here, which would have the merit of opening another good scoring spot. So there would be two on the board, and he would potentially get his choice of one of the two. Very scary. All of these plays scare me a little bit, Jason. I don't know which way to go. Jackson going with tell here feels like a natural impulse to deny Nigel that spot.
Yeah, HRX such a great leave with this foul heavy pool as well. You're also kind of ending the game a little bit faster. Again, if we're going to get in this pattern of whoever played last has the lead, all sorts of vowels that you can 2 A's, 1 E, 1 O to hit that spot, which Sim actually wanted him to, did not totally discard him doing this turn and drawing into HLLRT. Again, that open O down there, and so many vowels to draw. So 13-point lead, and what's Nigel going to do in response?
Well, he has soy set up on his rack. He's probably looking into a pool that has an X in it and thinking to himself, man, I don't know if I want to allow Jackson to be able to hit an X for an easy score there. He may also be thinking the S is nowhere near as valuable as it was with Oka's now obstructed by the T. So he might be about to play soy, which would leave one tile in the bag and create a very difficult situation for Jackson to navigate with an X that no longer has as good scoring potential on the resulting board. I do feel like with the J and X and H together, it's possible that if Jackson can dodge bingos, he might be able to squeak this one out by scoring well with both of those tiles. But very tricky situation here for Nigel. Nobody is better at navigating situations like this than him.
Yeah, those when you got two clunky tiles on your X, those one in the bag pre-end games are always, they can be a little rough because you have to get rid of one. Which one do you get rid of? How do you put that clunky tile in a spot where Nigel can't really use it? Can you make sure that you don't get stuck with the other one, which with the X is a little bit less of a concern.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do like leaving one in the bag here. It's a really tricky pre-end game for sure.
Yeah, it seems like he's very seriously considering soy. I suppose another.
Probably, yeah, probably just wanting to kill the easy X spot as well. I should have.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. So that's that. You can do that though without using the S, right? If you want, you can just play A or OY in this spot, whichever you prefer. He does have the last O, so he can't duplicate it. It is worth considering. Is it possible that playing the A here is better because there is one lurking and you would rather not have two of them? If you know there's no O's that can duplicate, it's a tough, you'd have to suss that one out. Also, you get a bunch more points, which in a game this close is very important. You might win a few more end games by grabbing 10 plus extra points right now by cashing your S. The end game timing element of it is also critical. With 4 tiles in the bag, you have to try to figure out what would be ideal. Do I want to leave one or two tiles in the bag? Two in the bag end games are very difficult, but one in the bag end games at the absolute upper level of human skill, you could potentially see somebody like Jackson, who is as good as Jackson is. You could see him be able to come up with a more accurate pre-end game play with just one in the bag as opposed to two. So much to consider here. It feels like Nigel is spending way more time than usual sussing out what to do on this tricky situation. And soy is the play for Nigel, leaving one tile in the bag. And there is a good chance that with the P and N lurking, it is possible that Nigel could draw, and the S as well. He could draw, and it looks like he did not draw Puritans, but he does have insurant to the T of actor. So if Jackson does not find a way to block that, this could be another win for Nigel. The nice thing, Jason, for Jackson here is that the X playing in this spot would block it, or Haji, which he has lined up. Either of those could get the job done for him.
Yeah, and that always helps when you look at the 8 unseen tiles and you're like, okay, he has Insurant, he has Puritans. Like, how do I block in your most logical play? Playing across row 12 there with the X, kills them both. Just be careful that you don't throw something out in space that might give him something. So yeah, that last play was really tricky, and it was so complicated and so much to consider. I'm fine with that, with saying whatever Nigel chose there was correct. So I had no strong
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, brutal situation, a lot to consider. I guess there weren't that many candidate options to consider. If you really, really want to block the X over there in the corner, it seems like it makes a ton of sense. I guess Nigel probably also thinking about what happens if I draw the X after I block it. That's another consideration there. So there's just a ton going on there. Nigel sitting there hoping that the T of actor remains open, but Jackson doing his score sheet work over there. It does feel like the play of Haji, which I'm sure he's considering playing right here. He is looking here. He's thinking, what is the first thing I need to calculate, right? I want to figure out what's going to happen if all these individual tiles are in the bag. A, I, N, P, R, S, U. The first thing he should be looking at, because it's the most likely scenario, is the N. What happens if the N is in the bag? That's the likeliest thing to happen. The answer, Puritans, is available for Nigel. So I think there's just no way he's going to let that T open. And then once he gets to the P being in the bag, he's going to know Insurant is available as well. So he'll know the T needs to be blocked here. I am fully expecting him to come to that conclusion and find a way to block it that also doesn't give anything back, which is a scary thing to calculate under pressure. But this is the first time, Jason, we've seen a Nigel opponent have this much time to come up with the answer late in the game.
Yeah, and Haji does win 100% of end games. So looking like this could be it. Looking like 18 will be as far as Nigel could get. Yeah, like I said, those pre-end games with multiple clunky tiles on your rack are interesting from the one perspective. They're arguably more interesting from the other perspective, where you want to leave tiles that may be bingo, and yet what happens if you draw one of the clunky tiles? What happens if you draw both? I recently lost a friendly game where in a situation like that where the J and the X was unseen and there was one tile in the bag, it was the J, and I lost in part because of that. So very interesting game. Nigel with the bingo that almost certainly will not hit the board. I think Jackson may be considering Aji, maybe keeping the H for for later. You've got the X that goes down there. He'll see that the P is the only high scoring tile. We know that it's the one tile that's in the bag. But just checking and like you said, actually having the time to think through a very complicated pre-end game.
Here it comes, Haji. This looks like it is going to be a winner, blocking Insurance, leaving the X as well. Another beautiful thing about this play, setting up an X for him in the end game. Not sure we mentioned that. Maybe you did, and I zoned out on you because I'm staring at the board trying to figure out what to do. But yeah, this looks like it's going to be a very tall order here in the end game for Nigel to stop and a nice X play from coming down, and also score enough points as well to pull it off. So, wow, this is it. Nigel getting 18 games in until defending champion Jackson Smylie playing a fantastic game. Really, only one or two moves that weren't absolutely dead on optimal, but most importantly, he got the key moves of the game 100% accurate. And Nigel quickly finds the engine evaluated best choice of Huns here, Jason. I don't think it will ever get old. There's actually only one winning play for Jackson after this play. Score is now 387 to 389 for Nigel. It's going to update in a second. One winning play and one only for Jackson. Looks like he spotted it.
Yeah, I did. I did point out that Crackle reported 100% winning percentage after Aji, but I didn't realize with the P in the bag that that there's only one win after Huns. So obviously, and like you said, it never gets old watching Nigel play optimal end games, so quickly, including doing unconventional stuff like burning the S right away, et cetera, et cetera. It's been fun to watch it from afar for a while, and then to get to commentate these two games. Not sure if we're going to stick with Nigel now that he's lost, or switch divisions, or what we're going to do. But these two games were certainly quite the delight.
Yeah, my hunch is with Joey Krafchick coming up next, Nigel's closest challenger. I think I'm going to want to show that game before potentially dipping back into the Collins division with our last game of the day. That would be my first instinct. Of course, we're going to talk between the two of us and behind the scenes about how realistic that is, or maybe we just ride it out in this division and make it up on a subsequent day. We will find out. Look at this beautiful outplay by Nigel as well. 23 points for him. Sorry, let me get this score updated, everybody. The final score after Expo for 29, pushing Jackson up to 416, and Rain for 23, pushing Nigel up to 412, collecting 2 points from Jackson's unplayed R, for a final score of 416 to 414. Absolutely epic win for Jackson Smylie here, Jason. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, an incredible game. Like I said, literally from the start with QI followed by Sly, which again, I don't feel like we gave it. I feel like you could do a video on the Sly play alone.
Yeah.
Josh Sokol, by the way, is in chat saying that play is 100% wrong.
Well, it's a really fun play, and I hesitate to call anything so creative. Not sure I want to just jump to that conclusion. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this game is somewhat of a cautionary tale of why would you not want to do a play like that. It took Nigel till his fourth turn of the game to get a bingo down. Maybe a little bit of overestimating how strong Jackson's leave could be after his opening play of Chi, which does turn out to be the best play with such a wide variety of racks. You wouldn't want to assume he is so strong after that you need to play Sly necessarily, but I'm just astonished at that choice, and the fact that you can easily get it to be the top computer evaluated play if you just tweak a little bit. I don't think it would have been on most players' radar.
Oh no, I'm just picking between Sedulity and Steadily and all the others and deciding which 62 I want. So yeah, so there is something to be said, even if it is perhaps a mistake, a quote unquote mistake. for Nigel to even consider it, much less play it.
Yeah, so there you go. Nigel's not going 31-0. Even he is capable of being beat. You can see how well Jackson played to get that done. He held his nerve over the course of several critical decisions. Very, very impressed with his play on the whole. So the rematch between these two going Jackson's way, Nigel dropping his very first game. So yeah, very, very exciting stuff here. I think what we need to do now is to cut to a break and figure out what we're going to do for the next two games. We do have a banger of a matchup between Nigel and his closest follower in the standings, Joey Krafchick. We also have to look at what the games might be if we dip back into Collins. Again, we've borrowed a lot of time from the Collins division to bring you Nigel's undefeated surge through the tournament. So we're going to figure that out, cut to a quick break, and we're going to come back in just a couple of minutes with the last two rounds of the day from the 2025 World Cup.